Today's tutorial is quite an important one. It's all about passing arrays into functions, and it needs your full attention as there are a lot of weird tricks you need to learn and understand. We'll begin by making a very simple function which just prints out an array, one after the other. First, you need to ensure you're working outside the main function. Give it any name you like. I'll just type print array. It'll take some parameters. The first will be the array itself. So type int, then the array. Now, when you pass an array into a function, you need to type the square brackets after it. Otherwise, it will think you are trying to pass into a variable. So the square brackets basically tells the compiler that the first parameter, when using this function, will be an array. When programmers pass an array into a function, they also tend to pass in the size of the array. So name the size of array. This will basically be the number of elements in the array. So we'll build a function that prints out each element in the array. So you always start at 0. For int x equals 0. One thing that will change is the second thing we need to pass in. X is less than size of array. However, when we use this function now, we can pass in any array in any size we like, and it will work just fine. It's easier set it equal to a variable rather than equal to a number like 10, 15, 5, etc. And then x++ incremented by 1. So whenever we pass an array now, it will loop through 0 to the final element. So on screen we print the array, type in x, then endline. Here we've built a function which takes two parameters, an array and the size of the array. The reason we needed this information is because when we created our loop, we needed to know how long the loop lasts. And for each line we printed the value the element is equal to. Now we'll prototype this function. When we use this function in main, we have to prototype, otherwise it won't know this is a function which we built. And as a result, when we prototype it, it will not show any error messages when we use the function. We make two arrays to work with. Int's lucky and set it equal to a 3 integer array, then add 3 more integers. 20, 54, 675. Then we'll make another array, which we'll call stake, which holds 6 integers. 54, 24, 7, 8, 9 and 99. So there are two arrays, lucky with 3 integers and stake with 6 integers. When using this function, just type in the name of the function, print array, then the 2 bits of information it needs. But there are a few tricky things you need to be careful of. You may think that in the first parameter you type in lucky or lucky square brackets or lucky square brackets 3, but actually you just type the name of that array. Basically, you've already created an array, so when you pass it in, you just type in the name of the array. You don't need to tell it that you're passing an array because it will already be aware of it. That's the reason that when you pass it into a function, there's no need to use square brackets. The other bit of information it needs is the size of the array. So we pass in 3 through here, then we build and run the program. What do we have? They match. So it's 2020, 54, 54, 675, 675. So do the same with stake. Stake array, no square brackets, and 6. Then build and run it. We get 54, 24, 7, 8, 9, and 99. So it works. So just to recap, we built the function prototype in the first line of code. If we didn't have the prototype, it would get an error message. Basically, the error message means that it doesn't understand what print array means. So when you include the prototype, it knows that print array is a function. So when it runs a program, it knows to look for a function. So that's the job of the prototyping. In main, we ran 2 arrays, and in this line we called the function and passed it in the array name and how big the array was. So when we called stake 6, it went to print array. For one parameter it was stake, and for the other parameter it was 6. It then looped through a loop 6 times. For the array called stake, it said to print out each index of that array 0 to 5, and that will give you the 6 elements. So that's how you use an array in a function. A few things to remember are, always prototype your functions, always remember when creating a function to include square brackets, but when using the function in the main program, don't use the square brackets because the compiler will know that whenever you use stake, it is an array as you had already told it. So you just need to remember those few things, and that's how you use an array inside a function. So until next time, thank you and bye bye.